At Capella University, learning the right skills could make a difference. That's why our business programs teach you relevant skills you can take from the course room to the workplace. A different future is closer than you think with Capella University. Learn more at capella.edu.
Welcome to the CJ Moneyway Show podcast, the podcast show where we unlock potential one dream at a time. Today, we have another guest whose journey is truly worth hearing. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the Moneyway experience.
What's up, my good people? This is your boy CJ Moneyway, and welcome to the CJ Moneyway Show. Today, we have on the show a lady of God. She's a podcast host, a radio host, entrepreneur, and author of 49 books. She has appeared on many features and is an incredible voice in her field. Welcome to the show, Kimberly Moses. How you doing, Kim?
I'm doing good, CJ. Thank you for having me today. I'm excited.
Thank you for coming on. Thank you for carving out some time out of your busy schedule and coming on a Saturday at that.
Yes.
Appreciate it. So, Kim, tell us a little bit about yourself and about your background.
Yeah, so I wasn't raised in church or anything like that. I was actually raised a Buddhist. I started stripping at the age of 13, stripped to about age of 21, got in a bad car accident, and then that's how I found Jesus in that. 2014, I had a bad wilderness experience, and I hit rock bottom. I lost everything. I got mad at my ex-husband. I ran my car into his car, and I was on probation for like 3 years. And in that crazy time in my life, that's when God called me to ministry, and he told me to start writing books. So since 2014, I've just been on fire for God, running to God, and I got married again. I got 2 kids. I'm also a publisher. I'm an insurance agent, and I think I published maybe about 100 and plus Christian magazines. So that's a little bit about me in a nutshell.
Oh, man, a little bit about you. That's a lot. Like you say, sometimes, as you were saying, alluding to earlier, sometimes we have to go through some things in order to see what God is trying to take us to. Because, like you say, running to God now, but it has been times and points in our lives that we probably have been running from God and running from the calling that he had on our life. So that's cool. So you have a personal brand, Rejoice Essentials. Tell us a little bit about what it represents.
Yeah, so my favorite word in the Bible is rejoice, because I spent a life of just crying, being depressed. I remember just being chronically depressed, and I remember praying. I said, God, I don't want to live anymore. And I actually heard him speak to me. He said, it's not your time to die yet. You got work to do. So just hearing those words, it broke off depression off of me, because I remember I used to make my room dark. I used to lay on the couch all day and just cry. But the Bible tells us to rejoice always. So that's how the brand came about, just rejoicing. And it's essential. And I'm a publisher. So Rejoice Essentials. So that's how that came about, just thinking about being happy. No matter what we go through in life, we can think positive. We can just clap and just find something to smile about. So I always try my best to rejoice. Always.
Yeah, say, today is the day that the Lord has made, and I shall rejoice and be glad in it. Just said
My
that prayer for us.
Yep. My
Hey. So in addition to everything else, you're doing, you mentioned earlier that you're a licensed agent in, say, 20 states. What's that like?
You're 20 plus states, yes. So it keeps me pretty busy. I like the fact that I feel fulfilled helping people, because I work with mostly seniors. And when people get a little older, maybe they're on Social Security, that's really what they're depending on. They get the income and they don't have a lot of money for groceries or dental. But here I am with these Medicare Advantage plans and these plans. I'm like, hey, I can get you some groceries. I can help you get your utilities paid. So in the midst of all that, I can talk about God sometimes if they're open to it. I can speak myself, and I can help them get groceries, and they're so happy. So I'm feeling fulfilled. And then also life insurance in general, that's something that we need, because in my family, on one particular side of my family, it was so sad. Like, I had so many people die in my family. They didn't have no insurance. We had to get together, get a little money to cremate that person that passed away. So I know the devastation of not having any insurance. So I try to just stress that point, like, hey, $20 a month or $30 a month, you can have something, so it doesn't be a burden on the family. So I feel like it's part of my assignment, and I feel fulfilled doing it, that I'm helping people, because, we all need insurance, whether it's car insurance, what I'm saying, on our house, health insurance. I just had like a endoscopy and a colonoscopy, and that thing cost $24,000, but the insurance paid for it. So I thank God, that I did have some health insurance, because without it, I would have to pay like 24 G's by myself. So it's a blessing to be able to do that. But I'm grateful that I'm licensed in many states to be able to have a diverse portfolio. So I'm not boxed in one region, but I can be able to help others.
So with having a license in over 20 states, did you have to take a test for each state?
Oh, no. The cool thing about insurance is, we have one resident state. So my resident state is South Carolina, and all you have to do is apply for your non-resident license, and that's it.
Okay.
So it's only one time you take that test, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
and then you pay
yeah.
the fees to get licensed in the other states.
Oh, okay. That's pretty cool. Yeah, because see, my mother used to do life insurance for a while back in the day. She didn't like it too much, because like you say, you got to be personable. You got to go in people's houses, see, and she's afraid of dogs. I don't really too much, and when you go in places, you don't know what you're going to run into yourself. Yeah, so that was short-lived.
Yeah.
So let's say you also serve as a life coach and mentor for women. Can you share more about this profession?
Yes. So it's pretty cool to be able to work with women of different backgrounds, just broken and depressed and suicidal, and helping their goals, because I'm a goal-oriented person. Like, I can pray and God give me a list. For example, I wrote 49 books. I didn't start off writing those books, but I got them in prayer. So it's so vital to me to be able to cross one thing off the list over and over, and I'm able to help other people achieve those goals. That way they're not sitting idle, because so many times we put things off and we say, we do it tomorrow. I'll do it tomorrow. Then tomorrow come, they'll be like, I'll do it next week. And next week come, and then a whole year go by and nothing. So I'm helping people produce, fruit. We got to have fruit, be fruitful, and be able to produce what you're talking about, right? Many people say, I'm this and that, but where's the fruit? Where's the evidence of what you're doing? So I'm helping women produce. Yeah, it's one thing to say, I'm going to write a book, but a year went by, but where's the book at? So that's where I come in, like, okay, I can help you write your book. It's so easy. It's a gift. So I'm able to help them, like, hold their hand in the system to write the book. I'm able to hold their hand and help them launch their t-shirt business, their beauty business, whatever they want. Amen. I'm able to help them in that aspect. So that's the beautiful thing, just to be able to help people navigate through life, because life could be chaotic.
Yeah, that's cool. It's funny you brought up put things off. I was sitting here folding my clothes before we got on, and I've been procrastinating on it. So that's why I had so many to fold. And that word came to my mind, like, I need to quit procrastinating. But as far as you helping women, as far as mentoring and everything, like I was talking to somebody yesterday, that's pretty cool that you have people like yourself that's willing to give yourself to others. I know it takes a lot of patience when you're dealing with other people, especially when you're dealing with people that's not of the faith. Yes. And so, just trying to plant a seed, like the Bible says, sometimes some of us water, some of us plant, but we don't know, which one we're doing. And so a lot of times when you come across people in God and put that on your heart and put that in your path, it's pretty cool. We need more people like that to actually, that's just to make a better world, like you say, the fruit, and let it multiply. But, everybody on their own thing right now, doing what they do. And we see how the world going right now. Yeah. It's real chaotic. So appreciate that. Keep doing what you're doing.
Thank you.
And so you were talking about your book. So let's talk about your writing and the 49 books that you have written. And can you talk to us about this particular book that you just released, The Wounded Leader?
Yes. So remember I told you in 2014 that I went through that wilderness experience? It was like crazy. I was depressed and suicidal, but I found writing to be therapeutic. So I actually developed a love for writing. So the fast forward about the book, I remember I had a prophecy. A pastor gave me a word out of the blue. He just came in my inbox. He said, God's going to use you to minister to wounded leaders or wounded pastors. That's like, cool, me? So I forgot about the word. You know how we get, You hear something,
Yeah.
put it
Yeah.
on the shelf. And sure enough, maybe a year went by and like my ministry just went through a crazy attack. It just turned upside down. People in my leadership, they began to turn on me. I felt like, wow, God, I never thought I would go through this. Like, why did I have to go through this? And I remember that word that the pastor released in my life. Like, wow. So I had people try to take my ministry, talk bad about me. And I know they talk bad about me, but then I had to try my best because it hurt when you love people so much and they kick you to the curb, they use you and abuse you, and you know how they really feel about you, but you can't take it to the streets with them. You got to be loving and kind. So I had to pray for those folks. I had to keep this heart right and not lash out on them, but really love them. And, this is the truth. It hurt. It really hurt me really bad. Normally, when I write a book, it can take about 2 weeks to a month. But this book took me a whole year. Like, it took me a long time for me to write this book because I cried so much and I didn't want to come from a place of being bitter, because people can tell when you're bitter because you'd be like, God, rain down fire and hailstorm on this person and blah, blah, blah. But I couldn't do that. I had to pray like, God bless them. God prosper them. God, I pray they make it and be successful. So I had to really, really come from that loving place. So it took a year for me to get over the hurt. So when I saw that person on social media or in passing, I didn't feel like, or some kind of way. I wasn't reliving the hurt anymore. But I began to feel sorry for them. Like, wow, So that's what the book's about. It's about healing. It's about getting deliverance and not being bitter and still being able to lead and be able to serve, because being a minister or being in ministry is service. Like Jesus came in the form of a servant. So we talked about earlier about time, giving time. I'm always giving time. Like, I laugh. I'm like, God, my last name is Moses, because I feel like Moses in scripture, working from sun to sundown. Because I'm always giving time. Like, I get a lot of prayer requests. I get a lot of people saying, can they talk to me, asking me for advice. Then I have to do my other projects and things like that for my businesses, my publishing company, my insurance business. And then I got to try to spend time with my family and kids and all that stuff, in the midst of that. So I'm always giving time. I'm always serving in some kind of capacity. So serving from a place of love and a pure heart, because, God looks at your heart, and not coming from a place of bitterness, because you can tell when somebody hurt, because the whole messages are just about hurt, what somebody did to them, about haters and things like that. But, what about giving people encouragement and helping them move on and go forward? So that's what the book is about.
As I'm listening to you, a couple of things came to mind. And one of them is the same, it's in the same story, the story of Joseph, when you say that people that you love hurt you.
Yeah.
And so recently he had me to go back and read it again. And when I read it, it said when he went out, to go see his brothers or whatever, his father told him to go out to go see his brothers. And they say, here come the dreamer. And so what he made me recognize in that is that they didn't just start hating Joseph when he was 17 after he had the dream. This was something that was built up for a long time. And so saying that is that sometimes we love people and it seems as though people genuinely love us back. But at some point in time, it's going to get exposed of that resentment or that bitterness that you have towards someone, and they can't hide it anymore. You know what I'm saying? And so even with what you were saying about to love on them and to forgive them, even when his brothers came to him while he was in the palace and he told them, he said, look, he said, I don't have nothing against y'all. He said, I love y'all. I'm not going to do anything to you. It get to a point where God put you in a position because he knew that you was the strongest one to do that. And you have to love your enemies as much as you love yourself, because like he said, God, he said, you didn't do this to me. He said, God sent me first.
Ooh, yes.
To save you. And so even those that have talked about us, even those that have done us wrong, like you said, we still have to hold some type of accountability for ourselves, because God put us in this position and he sent us first for those who criticize, those who hate. Because at the end of the day, Kim, it's just like this. Just like all these visions, just like all these books, your publishing company, insurance company. If you try to tell people about your vision and about what you're seeing at this time, all this stuff coming at somebody at one time, they don't understand.
Yeah, so true. Yeah.
So people start hating on things that they don't understand. And so, hey, but if God didn't put it in you, you just keep doing what you're doing, as you already been a testament to, things just gonna fall in place.
Yes. Amen. So true. And I like what you said about Joseph, and you brought some key points out. Like, one thing I learned about Joseph's story and his brothers hating on them, it was like levels of hate. They hated him because he was always telling on them to the father. And they hated him even more when Joseph's father gave him that coat of many colors. But Joseph, he kept his heart pure. After all that hurt, he said, what was meant for evil, God worked it out for my good.
Yeah.
So I love how you brought that story up with Joseph. You know, like you said, I had to go through it. Like, people that may be going through something right now, they had to go through it. So I like what you said.
I mean, even not to get off the subject or anything, but even when he was in the prison.
Oh, yes.
You know, it baffled me because it say that when he saw the chief baker and the chief butler, their countenance was down. You know, they weren't joyful like they normally be on any other. I'm sitting up there like, wait a minute. So they was happy in the prison?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? It made me sit back and think about it. But because God was with them, it, like you were saying earlier, joy, it was rejoicing. They rejoiced every day. You know, because the presence of God was in that place. And, you know, and then he goes there and he tells them that he don't belong there. And he said, well, don't God interpret dreams? Like, wait a minute. It never said that he interpreted dreams. It said that he had a dream. But when he was in that place that he didn't want to be, Kim, it revealed something else revealed to him that now he can interpret dreams as well.
Amen.
I mean, like, so like you say, sometimes we just got to go through. And I think God put Joseph, man, you know how many times I read chapter 37, 45? A lot. And so, yeah, let's move on. So you host a Facebook podcast. So what can your listeners expect?
Yeah, so I always try to be transparent. Like, I always try to be transparent because I don't want the enemy to hold anything over my head. Like, people have come to me like, wow, you say these things that you did without any shame. Because let me tell you something. I remember when I was going through a divorce with my kid's father, like, he tried to throw everything on my past against me. Like, he went to the judge, like, she was a stripper and all this stuff. So I said, you know what? I told God, I said, God, I will never allow the enemy to hold anything over my head. So I tell people, yeah, I was that, but I'm not anymore. Now I'm a woman of God. Like, what can the enemy hold over my head? There's no condemnation in Christ Jesus, right? Those that belong, those that walk in the Spirit. So you're gonna have transparency for me. I'm going to tell you about my struggles and how God blessed me to overcome them. Then I'm just going to be able to encourage you as well, because I know how it feels to be discouraged. I had anxiety for 5 years. So I know how it feels to be your worst enemy. Talk yourself out of something. When God called Moses, Moses was like, God, I stutter. God, I can't. So you're going to hear some positive words or affirmations so you can do what God is calling you to do.
I mean, everything that you said, I totally agree with, because to do things on this level, like podcasting, Facebook broadcasting, radio talk show host, and things of that nature, you have to be transparent.
Yes.
You know, you have to be authentic. People, you know, like somebody can see Kim where she at right now, you know, 49 books, publication company, magazines and radio and podcasting. But what about the in between? What about what she went through to get to where she at? You know, I can see you now like, oh man, she doing good. And people can hate on that, but you don't know what I went through to get there. You know, like you said earlier, you said something about going through the wilderness. When I first started, I actually did a podcast about that. Because a lot of times when we go through that wilderness, we going through that wilderness by ourselves.
Yeah.
And when God brings you out and clean you up, them same people that was around you then, they don't want to be around you because you clean. They want to be around you because they want to throw some more mud on you. You know, because as you said, that made me think about it when you said it, because people want to bring up what I used to be or what I used to do, you know, but like you say, God didn't deliver me from that, you know, so you can judge me however you want to judge me, you know, what I used to, I used to smoke. Yeah, I used to drink. Yeah, I used to be with a lot of women. Yeah, I used to do all that, you know, so, but that ain't what I'm doing now. So like you say, I don't let that affect me anymore, because people will always try to bring up your past.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you know just as much as I do. And I know your story because I'm one of them. You know, I'm one of them people. So you got a podcast called Warfare
Ooh,
Strategies. What is
yeah.
that about?
Okay, so this podcast, like when we talk about like God, show me how to fight the enemies, and this is crazy. Okay, I wasn't raised in church, and I remember growing up, the house was full of this demonic activity, and I didn't know anything about God or the spirit realm, but all I know is I was feeling it. Every time we used to watch scary movies, I would have these crazy nightmares, and then I will open up my eyes and I will see this dark shadow with red eyes, or it felt evil. It's a demon over me. And sometimes the demon would try to get sexual, kiss my lips or touch me in inappropriate places. And I didn't know how to fight it. You know, I didn't know what to do. So I remember sometimes the spirits would come through the wall and pull my hair and all kind of crazy stuff, call my name. So I remember, fast forward, you know, when I did get saved after I got in that car accident, I remember the enemy came at me, the same spirits as a child came at me with a vengeance, would try to get in my body, try to possess me, or it's crazy stuff, right? And I remember picking up the Bible, putting it underneath my pillow, and the spirit would go away. But then the spirit would come back the next night, even madder, fiercer. And then I remember calling on Jesus, and then it would leave. But it kept coming back night after night after night. At the time, I was a babe in Christ. I didn't know how to read or pray or anything. So I picked up the Bible. I was fumbling through the pages. I didn't know where to start, right? So I had to learn that's how to pray. That's how I learned how to do warfare, because the enemy was just messing with me. You know, people would say things like, if you don't mess with the devil, he won't mess with you. That's not true. You know, I was minding my business and the enemy kept coming after me every night. So I remember going through these attacks, and when I got called to ministry, the same spirits that God used me to pray and that the person got delivered from, they would come at me with a vengeance. You know, like I prayed for somebody to get healed. They end up getting healed. And then that same sickness would try to come upon my body. And I would have things in my body that that person just got healed from. So I was like, oh no, devil, you know, so I sought God, I prayed, and then I started having these visitations, and God started showing me things through scriptures. Like one of the first weapons in the Bible God showed me was in Psalms 7:13, and it was like flaming arrows. So I was like, flaming arrows. And it talks about how the arrows of God are like deadly weapons. So he began to show me different things like the sword of the spirit and how to, you know, do spiritual warfare. So that's how that podcast is based off of a book came forth. So I was like, okay, so now God uses me as a weapon of war, a battle axe in the spirit, where I can go and intercede, pray for folks, and they get healed, they get delivered, they get set free, and the enemy can't touch me. You know what I'm saying? I had witches come in my dreams, asking me in my dreams, trying to hurt me, but I will see them every time, and all I have to say is Jesus. And they'll just flee and they'll leave. You know, and I didn't get there overnight. It took many years of just battling. I used to be afraid to go back to sleep. I would cut my light on. I would try to move, you know, to different parts of my bed to get some peace, or to, you know, but no, God had to show me how to use authority to crush Jesus. And I had witches. One time, this witch, she stalked me from all of 2018. She stalked me on every social media platform, every email address I had, every email address my husband had, sending us.
At Capella University, learning the right skills could make a difference. That's why our business programs teach you relevant skills you can take from the course room to the workplace. A different future is closer than you think with Capella University. Learn more at capella.edu.
Mail. She even found my P.O. box and sent me a death certificate. I said, enough is enough. And I just began to war. And she never messed with me again. You know, now it's 2024, right? So I had to like get in God's presence and fast and consecrate myself just to learn how to get strategies to do warfare. So that's what the podcast is about.
Don't miss out on CJ Moneyway's book, Both Eyes Open and Both Eyes Shut. And get ready to pre-order his upcoming release, The Issues of Life, coming soon. Moneyway, aiming to inspire.
Man, that's cool, because a podcast like that, that's something that people don't talk about every day. Because for one, a lot of us don't know about spiritual warfare. And if you hadn't picked up the Bible and read the Bible, then you really don't know. I know in, Daniel, when the Bible said that he prayed, and then his prayers was answered when he prayed, but it was a spiritual warfare that was going on around him. When the angel Gabriel was trying to bring him the message, then, he got into this spiritual warfare. And a lot of times I believe that, like you saying, that in the spiritual warfare, we don't know word. We don't know how to combat the enemy. Like when Lucifer, Satan, took him to the temple. And he said, man, don't eat by bread alone, but by every word that proceedeth out of the mouth of God. See, we got to know these type of things. Like you say, I called on Jesus. You know what I'm saying? And they flee. So we have to know certain things. And so a podcast like that, even if somebody's not even, like spiritually inclined, but once you get a taste of it, it's just sowing seeds.
Yes.
It's sowing seeds, and some of it is watering seeds. We don't know where they at in their life. Somebody could have already planted the seed. Now, Kim coming watering it, but something like that is really needed in life because, like I said, that's something that we don't talk about a lot. So, switching gears a little bit, tell us about your singing career and your new single, You're the One, and tell us a little bit about your new album.
Yes. So I'm excited. So what happened was, remember I told you I had anxiety for 5 years?
Mm-hmm.
Thought of me speaking in public, I just wanted to get sick on the stomach. I remember my apostle, my leader, when I lived in Colorado Springs, he called me in front of the church. He said, Kimberly, you read the announcements today. And you should have seen me. My hands were shaking trying to read the paper. So the very fact that I'm able to get up and sing or preach or talk, wow, that's a miracle in itself.
Yeah.
So I remember, like, when I started doing ministry, 2016, that's when I got my first preaching engagement. I was in ministry for 2 years before somebody asked me to come speak somewhere. Mm-hmm. So I remember I went somewhere and this lady came to me and she said, wow, that was a nice message, but something's missing. She said, you're supposed to be singing. I'm like, who gonna be singing? You know what I'm saying? I just couldn't see myself doing it. So I remember I would pray and God will give me these songs. And I remember singing and I would start singing in tongues. And I'm like, God, why am I singing in tongues? Like, this is so weird. I don't know anybody that's doing this around me. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, God, you keep giving me all these songs. So I would take my phone and take the voice recording and just record in the voice recording app. Mm-hmm. And I would have all these songs. So I remember God was dealing with me in 2018. I did my first conference in South Carolina. And I had a song on the back of my throat, like in my mouth. And I was like, God, don't make me do this here. I was fighting with God in my head, like, no, I can't do this, no. But then I released it, And then everybody that was at this event, they start singing it. They love the music. They love the songs. And they just picked it up and made it their songs. And I'm like, wow. And I had to get over how I felt and just be confident in who God made me to be and just start singing. So 2018, I got a bunch of downloads for songs, and it took maybe till this year to get all the equipment. Got to order my steps to meet my producer so he can help make my music for me and things like that. And I released You're the One. And You're the One is about trusting God. Because remember, I told you I had some fake friends or people that hurt me, stab me in the back. But God is the one that my heart can trust. So it's just a love song to God. Like, God, you're the one that I love. You're the one that my heart trusts. So I'm singing to God this song that he gave me, just going through the wilderness, going through trials in life. So we put out the first single, June the 1st, and we're put out an album really, really soon. But I wanted to just rock that song a little bit because I didn't want to put out music too fast because I want people to appreciate, what I'm saying, what God gave me. I feel like sometimes you release stuff too fast, it become old and nobody appreciates it. So these are like my babies. I've been having these things since like 2018.
So where can we find this single at?
So it's everywhere, all major streaming platforms like Spotify, iHeartRadio, Apple Music, pretty much on those platforms like that, iTunes.
Okay. Hey, y'all hear it? iTunes, Spotify, go check out the new single, You're the One. I'm going to check it out later on myself. So, Kimberly, balancing family, ministry, and multiple businesses must be challenging. So, how do you manage it all?
Yes, I tell people to put God first. So every morning I wake up automatically, even if I stay up to like 3 a.m. I just wake up, you know what I'm saying, to go pray. Because I guess God, that's my clock inside of me, just doing that. God is doing that through me. But I start off praying for about an hour from 6 to 7. I take Holy Communion to rededicate my life or whatever, focus on Jesus. So if I put God first, the Bible says put God first in this kingdom of righteousness and everything else will be added. So I start off by giving God the first fruits of my day. Then I get up and then check on my family, the children, check to make sure my husband's good. Then I start my work day. And at the end of the day, I give God, the last fruits of the day. So I put God first and the last of my day, and everything else just happens to fall into place. So that's how I balance Saturdays. He said it's for family time. He said Sundays, it's a day of rest, because everybody needs a day of rest. Yeah. Because if you don't rest your body, you'll burn out. I remember going through a season of being burnt out. I'm like, God, this ain't, you know what I'm saying? Like, this is too much, God. I began to look at everything I had to do, and I start feeling overwhelmed. I start feeling like I ain't going to be able to make it. So he started allowing me to rest on Sundays and get refreshed and things like that. So you have to even spend time with your family. Even though I'm doing a lot of things like that, Saturdays are for family. Weekends are for family. And go out and enjoy your family. Go out and, love on them, because you don't want your family to resent you because you're giving their time away to somebody else. I can't give all my time away to people in ministry. They're going to be there, after I finish hanging out with my family. So that's how I balance.
Yeah, and I agree with you, because on Sundays, and I've been doing it probably after I started the podcast, I don't do nothing on Sunday. I don't do social media. I don't post anything on Sundays. I don't want to talk no business on Sundays. I don't check no messages, and I tell you, I just don't do Sundays, because like you say, and I said the same thing, because you have to refresh. I need time to get my mind right, just because when you dealing with people tugging you here and there every day and reading messages every day and responding, it gets tiresome. I mean, because some people can be a little annoying. I'm just being dead serious. And, just like I just actually started back recording at the end of the month. I took the whole month of June off.
Oh, wow. That's cool.
I didn't do no recording because, I had enough in the archives to keep going. I just needed a break. Plus, I had a vacation. So sometimes you just need a mental break, emotional break, and just think of some of the other things that you're trying to do and start putting some things in order,
Yes.
So I totally agree with you, especially on that Sunday thing. Go to church and, well, I can't say that all the time because I will work rotating shifts. So like tomorrow I go back on days. So I'll be missing it. So I only got one more question for you. You mentioned this earlier, and so I would like for you to elaborate on it a little bit. So you say you had a near-death experience. So what I want to ask is, how did this actually change your life?
Ooh, okay. So just a little backdrop. Again, I wasn't raised in church. I was actually on my way to go to that morning of that near-death encounter. I remember I was like maybe about 21 years old. I say about 21. I was waking up, looked outside, and I heard the devil speak to me. He said, "You're going to die today." And I felt death. I felt I was going to die. And I was like, "No, I'm too young to die." You know how we think when we're like young, like we're invincible.
Yeah.
So my sister had just got saved, and I came back from California, shacking up with this man. And I said, I'll be back. We can get married and all this stuff. But when I came back to my parents' house, everybody was saved except for me. So it was for weeks, come to church. I said, no. So my sister gave me a Bible. I put it in my car, and I was riding around with this Bible for 2 weeks straight. So that day of the car accident, I heard the devil say, "You're going to die today." I was like, whatever. So later on that night, I was on my way to go to the strip club, and it was like a movie in slow motion. I looked in my rearview mirror, and I knew that this car behind me was about to hit me, and I felt death again. And it was like playing out in front of me. I got hit twice in that night. Seats were scattered all across the highway. Eyebrow ring popped out. Braces popped off. Credit cards and things like that. So anyways, I remember just being shaken up at the scene of the car accident. I had a 4-door sedan. It got smushed. The back end was smushed up. And I remember the firefighter got there first. And one of the firefighters looked at the car, shook his head and looked at me and shook his head like, "Wow, you should not be alive." He picked that Bible up my sister gave me and handed it to me. And he said, "Here, young lady, this saved your life." And that just did something to me. I'm like, oh my God, like, wow, God. I'm here because of you. Like, wow, I know you're real now. I'm like, God, this is crazy. So I was really banged up. I was really hurt. So when I was able to, cause I had to go to a chiropractor for like 6 months because I had bad whiplash and all that. My back was toe up. But when I was able to, I went down to the club, cleaned up my locker, and I never looked back. So that near-death experience, it made me know that God is real, that there's purpose for my life, that God had a plan for me. And, that life is short. We need to value our time, do what we're called to do while we're here. So it made me appreciate life, period, point blank, because there's so many people that didn't walk away, from that car accident. I walked away without any scratches, even though I was bruised up and hurting, but I was able to use my limbs and to walk away from that crash. So it just made me look at life differently. It made me just appreciate God, and it made me want to get my life together, instead of complaining about things that I can't control. I learned how to, just be thankful, rejoicing. That's like my favorite thing to do, rejoicing. Yeah. So it goes back to that. So that's my outlook on it. I'm grateful for another chance at life, another day of fellowshipping with God.
Man, that's amazing. It's just crazy how the enemy would try to attack us and try to keep us from what God trying to take us, But thank God that he saved you and you recognized, and now you're doing wonderful things. And so your social media handles, how could people follow you?
Yeah, so you can type my name, Kimberly Moses. My main page on Facebook is Prophetess Kimberly Moses, but I'm on all platforms, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube. Just type my name and you'll see my face. Yeah.
So are there any future endeavors that you're working on that we can look forward to?
Yeah, so one thing I'm going to do, I'm going to release a 50th book, and it's about God's peace. So that should come out in the next couple of weeks. The book is called Walking in God's Peace. And I think that's a good book for this time because it's so chaotic. So many people fighting, even in church, people are fighting against each other. Just stressing the importance of God's peace. Also, I may have a live event in December, a gathering just to encourage women from all walks of life to come together to get healed or delivered and to walk in what God has for them. Then also the album. We're going to release the album. And the name of the album is called Breathe on Me. And it's one of those songs that I got just focusing on God, going through the wilderness season. And I begin to feel the presence of God, the first time ever. And I'm like, wow. So that song, the whole album is about feeling God and how he feels. So it's beautiful.
Well, Kimberly, I appreciate you coming on the show today. I appreciate you sharing being transparent about the things that you went through and how you got to where you are today.
Thank you, CJ, for having me. I thank God for you so relatable, so easy to talk to, refreshing as well.
I appreciate it. Hey, go get the book, listen to the new single, and go get the new album when it comes out. Breathe on Me. Hey, by Kimberly Moses. This your boy CJ Moneyway. We out of here. Peace.
Thank you for listening to the CJ Moneyway Show. Don't forget to share this episode with your friends, leave a comment, and drop a review. Be sure to tune in every Tuesday and Friday for more inspiring journeys. Who knows? Your story might be next.
At Capella University, learning the right skills could make a difference. That's why our business programs teach you relevant skills you can take from the course room to the workplace. A different future is closer than you think with Capella University. Learn more at capella.edu.